For some unfathomable reason, I didn't head north right away. Even to this day, I still don't know why. Well, I might have felt a slight tinge of loathing toward that archer who had pestered me for so long. Perchance I wanted to torment her and prolong her waiting. But then again, I was at the time prone to being too critical and often judged myself far too harshly. So who really knows? During my exploration of this snowy domain, I came upon several quaint sights. I saw an ancient worm slumbering uneasily on a frozen river, explored icy caverns with blood-red jellyfish, and ended up feeling increasingly burdened with my burly attire and changed into something less repulsive. Eventually, I found myself in a deep and dark mine with riches untold, but also a large, fiendish and many-colored creature. There was no good reason to kill what most likely was a remote kindred of that otherworldly devil I had annihilated beyond the lake of rot. I even came upon yet another of those toxic trees which plagued the lands between, but this one wasn't granted a long and undisturbed life. And then, out of the nothingness, ghostly silhouettes suddenly materialized. I was now approaching a long-abandoned town. This had to be it. Surely I had now arrived at the remote home of Latenna, but walking the eerily deserted streets, I found nothing alive here. The ground was just as frozen as everywhere else. The only movement that caught my eye at any point was that of the roaming animal spirits. Still, there was something distinctly off about this place. It somehow didn't feel right, and even the empty streets felt saturated with life unseen. Weary from the last couple of days, I set up camp and rested for the night. That, however, didn't grant me relief. Instead, I was haunted by curious dreams. Time moved faster than I had ever experienced, and being trapped in this inner space as a witness, I suddenly realized that the town wasn't empty after all. At dawn, I walked all the way around what, truth be told, hardly was larger than a settlement, and found myself next to one of those locked cells I had seen scattered across the lands. The small plate said, "Light the 4 figures." What figures? They were nowhere to be seen. Expecting to encounter some ancient monstrosity imprisoned within a few feet, I was astounded to discover that I hadn't moved at all. I was exactly where I had been before crossing the threshold. Was it broken? On the other hand, it wasn't the exact same place after all. Something was different now, even if I had difficulties seeing what exactly. Strange. I could have sworn that hadn't been there before. Oh God, what was that sound? Out of absolutely nowhere, a nimble and lethal assassin had appeared. Stop it! I was so rattled that I couldn't even collect my thoughts and was annihilated altogether. I couldn't for the life of me imagine what I had done to deserve this silent treatment. It was somehow reminiscent of the fairer sex and its cruelty. That cell wasn't merely a container of some unruly sinner, but rather another dimension entirely, haunted by invisible and freakishly deadly assassins. Despite lacking the wits required for solving riddles, I did realize what the gargoyle Platt had referred to. "Leave me be! Please, I beg of you, no more!" I had to find the figures and actually light them, preferably without falling into those sleek hands. Deciding it was better to keep my distance at this point, I began looking for higher ground. "Ha! What are you going to do about it? Oh, pray tell." A bit more at ease now that I wasn't in danger anymore, I began... What was that sound? What? Wait a moment. Those archers seemed familiar. Was that Latenna's brethren? Why did they shoot at me? Apparently, they were just as lazy as she was, and didn't even deign to move their feet because of those monumental egos. Unfortunately, that didn't make them any less dangerous. There was something about that figure, though, and then it dawned on me. Many moons ago, while entering the tower of my wife-to-be, I had also come across a statue of a young girl. Nay, they were not alike after all. I was so confused. It didn't matter for the time being, because I had a score to settle with those salacious sharpshooters. and I had arrows of a respectable size up my sleeve. Eventually I made my way through them all, and for each one that fell to the ground, I felt sparks of sensual joy. With the archers out of the way, I was at least free to roam the rooftops, and before long the fourth figure was lit. A gateway had been opened, and I could finally bring Latenna home. Oh, what joy. I would soon be free of that haughty voice inside my head, seething with unjustified arrogance. This didn't look right. Overwhelmed by this most unexpected sight, I whispered to the archer, who, for once, held her tongue. I have a feeling we're not in Ordina anymore.